I saw my ex-girlfriend again 5 years after a breakup. Back then, she was the one who proudly dumped me after climbing the social ladder with a rich second-generation heir. Yet 5 years later, she became the one desperately clinging to me, begging for reconciliation. 01 When I saw Elizabeth again, she strutted in like a proud peacock, dressed to the nines, and escorted by an entourage into the company. But the moment our eyes met, her face lit up, and she practically pounced on me. Brother Yixing, you're here too. I couldn't dodge in time as she threw herself into my arms with a sudden lunge. Colleagues around us looked at me in surprise. Oh, ISNT, that the new manager, is she our manager's girlfriend? Must be right, we've never seen his girlfriend before. I forcefully pushed Elizabeth away from my embrace and frowned, asking her, what are you doing here? Elizabeth brushed aside the hair on her forehead and said shyly, of course, I came here specifically after hearing that Yicheng Gij was here. But I only frowned more severely. Elizabeth was the young lady of the Ford family in the capital with whom I had a relationship during university. But she had already broken up with me 5 years ago. 5 years ago, she left me and went abroad with someone else, cutting off all contact with me. I didn't stay in that city to make a living either, but came here to build my life alone. I thought I would never see her again in this lifetime, yet I never expected to run into her in such a small city. The higher-ups mentioned a few days ago that a new manager would be parachuted into our team. Could it possibly be her? The colleagues around were still buzzing with gossip, and some who loved stirring up trouble even asked her directly, Manager Elizabeth, are you our manager's girlfriend? Elizabeth let out a coquettish laugh. Of course, Brother Yixing, and I have been in love for years. How could I bear to leave him alone in this small town when life here is so hard? With just a few words, she crafted the image of a devoted girlfriend who moved from the big city to this small town just to be with her boyfriend. But the problem was I already had a girlfriend. I frowned and pushed away her approaching body, saying, you've misunderstood. I already have a girlfriend. Yes, just an old classmate of mine. The surroundings instantly fell silent. Elizabeth looked at me in disbelief for 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed, as if realizing something. Don't joke with me like this, Yixing. I'm not even angry anymore, so there's no need to bring up a girlfriend just to be difficult, really. The colleagues around us also chimed in jokingly, exactly, manager, you've had a girlfriend for so long, but never brought her to meet us. Surely you're not hiding her that well. The reason I didn't bring my girlfriend to meet them was simply because she is a low-key person who prefers quiet. These rowdy guys are just too loud. Little did I know they'd misunderstand me because of this. Just as they were about to continue making a scene, I coldly cut them off. Enough. Is all your work done? Instead of gossiping here, finish today. As tasks, no one leaves until it's done. With just over an hour left before clocking out, they scattered back to their workstations after my warning. As for me, I dragged Elizabeth roughly into my office. 02 Elizabeth blushed and looked at me. Yixing, you don't have to be so impatient. Enough. I cut her off, watching her stunned expression as I shoved her into the office. What exactly do you want? I've already told you about my girlfriend. You were the one who abandoned me to go abroad with someone else. What brings your highness back now? Elizabeth's expression flickered uncertainly. Perhaps it was the first time I'd spoken to her so harshly. She stayed silent for 2 seconds before responding. Are you still angry? She reached out to grab my arm. Don't be mad, okay? I was young back then. It was until later that I realized how good you were. Give me another chance, please. I shook off her hand, pulled out my phone, and showed her the lock screen. It displayed a photo of me with a gentle, tender-looking woman. That's my girlfriend. Without her support, I could never have grown step by step to where I am today. See clearly now, I already have a girlfriend. I hope you'll stop telling people you're my girlfriend. My girlfriend wouldn't like it. Elizabeth's face darkened completely. Benjamin, don't push your luck when given face. I pointed at the door. Don't let me see you again. She stomped her foot angrily and left. After work, I rushed straight home. The terrible mood Elizabeth had brought me that day completely vanished the moment I saw my girlfriend Emily. Holding her in my arms, she asked in a muffled voice, what's wrong? I didn't say anything, just shook my head, played for a while with Milk Tea, the dog we raised together, and then went back to work. To my surprise, as soon as I opened the social media app, countless messages bombarded me. Yixing, did you get back together with Elizabeth? Holy shit, you're actually involved with that bitch Elizabeth. I'll tear you apart for Emily's sake. What is going on between you and Elizabeth getting married? What about Emily? Each message sent chills down my spine. I reached out to the closest friend among them to ask a few questions. But they replied, Haven T, you seen Elizabeth posted it on her social media. Now everyone thinks you two are back together and even getting married. I was furious. I don't even have her contact info anymore. A minute later, my friend sent me a screenshot of Elizabeth's social media post. Several group photos from our university days, along with a side profile shot of me working that she somehow obtained, were captioned, the moon of my youth may leave, but after one cycle its light will shine upon me again. The ambiguous caption, paired with those specific photos, was rife with misinterpretation. The Ford family's vast influence and Elizabeth's own spoiled heir's temperament meant her social circle was extensive. With such a misleading post now public, the number of people misunderstanding our relationship would only multiply. A friend sent me an excited voice message. If you didn't get back together with her, then why is she posting stuff like this on her moments? Is she out of her mind? If I didn't understand her intentions at first, seeing the discussions about me in the company group chat that my assistant forwarded made everything clear. She's trying to roast me in the court of public opinion. Didn't the manager say his girlfriend isn't her? Then what's the meaning behind her moments post? Is the manager timing a scumbag who can't get over his first love? If that's really the case, I feel heartbroken for his girlfriend. The friend who was just chatting with me sent another screenshot, a comment under her post demanding, doesn't Benjamin already have a girlfriend? What do you mean by this post? Yet Elizabeth's reply made my blood boil. 03 Brother Yisheng is such a great guy, of course people would covet him. Nothing was said outright, yet it felt like everything was implied. Is she subtly suggesting my girlfriend is the other woman? Not only that, she even added fuel to the fire in the comments. Everyone must come witness the happy occasion between me and Brother Yisheng in the future. Who wants any happy occasion with her? I asked a friend for her contact information, trying to reach out and clarify things with her. Before I could even add the contact, my girlfriend showed up first. Are you still in touch with Elizabeth? At the dinner table, Emily looked at me with a half smile, and my alarm bells went off. No, she just showed up at our company out of the blue today. She stirred the rice in her bowl. Oh, how charming. She even claimed you were going to marry her. Before I could respond, my mom called you brat. What is going on with that? What is her name, Ting? Facing Emily's amused expression across from me, I felt utterly overwhelmed. The next day, I successfully added Elizabeth's contact and arranged to meet her. I had already finished most of my coffee in the cafe when Elizabeth finally arrived. Oh, my Brother Yisheng, sorry to keep you waiting. Dressed to the nines, she breezed into the shop with an air of urgency. Just as she was about to take the seat next to me, I stopped her with a raised hand. Miss Elizabeth, please sit across from me. It wouldn't be good if this caused any misunderstandings. Elizabeth slammed her bag down angrily before taking the seat opposite me. I got straight to the point. Miss Elizabeth, you posted my photo on your social media without my consent, leading to widespread circulation. This constitutes a violation of my portrait rights. She was visibly taken aback, perhaps expecting me to discuss my girlfriend, but instead, I directly brought up the issue of portrait rights. I hope Miss Elizabeth will delete the photo and issue a public apology. Otherwise, you'll soon be receiving a lawyer's letter from me. Elizabeth's face was full of disbelief. You're sending me a lawyer's letter? Do you really think you can stand against the Ford family? I took a slow sip of the now cold coffee. Rather than that, I believe Uncle Ford would find it even harder to accept his own daughter meddling in someone else's relationship, don't you think? You, Elizabeth, clearly hadn't expected me to be so ruthless. Just you wait. She stood up and hurried away from me, not even taking a sip of her coffee. I fell into silence. When I was little as a child from a single-parent family, my mom raised me alone through many hardships. Back then, I was crouching by the roadside, just after elementary school, let out crying over the 5 yuan pocket money that had just been stolen from me. I vaguely remember a girl dressed like a little fairy coming to my side, sitting with me for a long time, and finally slipping me 10 yuan, saying she didn't need the money and hoped it could help me. I'm glad I remembered her wealthy status, but I regret not remembering what she looked like. Yet this very fact led to the moment during my university years in that city when I first saw Elizabeth, who looked like a princess feeding ham to stray cats. My heart wildly superimposed her image onto that childhood girl. I never could figure out, even after we broke up, why the little fairy from my childhood had turned into this arrogant, domineering woman who trampled on people's dignity. A ringing sound snapped me out of my thoughts. I looked down and answered with a smile. Are you almost home? I made your favorite sweet and sour chicken today. Truth be told, it was my fault. I'd mistaken someone else for her all along. Only after being someone's stand-in for years did I finally meet the real girl for back then. I had thought Elizabeth would listen to me today, obediently delete her social media post, and issue a clarification. But I underestimated her true nature. The next morning, as soon as I woke up, I saw photos of Elizabeth and me at the coffee shop being widely shared. It had already reached the point where everyone knew about it. 04 was even that brief moment we sat together captured by someone. My brows were practically knotted together, inwardly cursing my carelessness. Have they already started eating together? Could the manager really be timing? Not really, after all. His girlfriend has never shown up, probably just some couple-s game. Did none of you see manager Elizabeth's social media post? That person is actually the third wheel. The office was buzzing with discussions, and someone even shared Elizabeth's social media post in the group chat. Once again, I found myself thrust into the spotlight by a woman. And worse, my girlfriend got dragged into it indirectly. Not only that, but she somehow managed to get Emily's contact information and confronted her directly. So you're Yisheng's girlfriend. You're just a plaything he turns to when needed. Don't overestimate yourself. The one he has always loved is me, and it'll only ever be me. Who could withstand this? While I was still lost and thought, a pair of hands gently touched my shoulders from behind, and Emily came into view. Take me to the gathering in a couple of days, she said softly, gazing at me. I know that person has been giving you a hard time. I hesitated. After all, she's never been one for such lively places. She gripped my hand. It's fine. The rightful owner can't just stand by and watch others trample all over them. The company's biannual dinner was scheduled for 2 days later. I hadn't responded to the public opinion these past 2 days, which only made some people increasingly convinced I was too timing. Every day in the company, I could vaguely hear discussions about me apart from the long-time employees who worked with me for years. Hardly anything nice was being said. Until the day of the gathering, there were still people who held resentment toward me. Isn't he going to clarify things at all? Does he really think he did nothing wrong? He hurt 2 women, didn't he? It wasn't he until I walked into the private room with Emily that the people present finally fell silent. Emily smiled and greeted everyone. Hello, I'm Yixing's girlfriend Emily. An eerie silence fell over the private room, especially from Elizabeth, whose face turned an indescribable shade between black and green. A few senior employees were the first to react. So you're our sister-in-law, please have a seat. The group finally caught on. Yes, sister-in-law, please sit down. Perhaps someone noticed Elizabeth's unpleasant expression and quietly tugged at her sleeve. Her gaze was fixed intently on Emily, unnervingly so. I subtly stepped in front of Emily and said to the group, everyone take a seat. After a long silence, someone finally spoke up. Boss, your wife is so beautiful. You've been hiding her away, reluctant to show her off to us. Yahaha, we all thought you didn't have a girlfriend. Emily spoke up in response. It's because of me that he usually doesn't like going out much. If I've caused any misunderstandings, I apologize. Let me punish myself with a drink. As she downed the entire glass in one go, I quietly tightened my grip on her hand. The expressions on everyone's faces turned a riot of colors. I understood completely. My girlfriend was gentle, yet strong, neither haughty nor humble, always rational in the face of adversity. These were the qualities that had drawn me to her so powerfully later on. No one could fail to see the innate elegance and grace in her bones. After several rounds of conversation, everyone likely came to understand Emily's character compared to Elizabeth's usual arrogance and domineering ways. Those who had once criticized me all silently lowered their heads. The truth has been revealed. 05 Meanwhile, Emily posted several videos on her social media accounts. As a somewhat well-known painter, her social media accounts had amassed quite a following. She publicly shared our 3-year romantic relationship, posting daily moments of our time together. Worried that our audiences might not overlap, she even tagged my account. Once the video was posted, many rumors about us were instantly dispelled. Looks like that woman was clearly trying to meddle between the happy couple. Emily said her boyfriend had already rejected that woman multiple times, but she kept pushing herself on them. Being the other woman knowingly is just disgusting. After a few rounds of drinks, Emily excused herself to go to the restroom. My head was swimming from alcohol, but I still managed to remind her to be careful. Yet just minutes after she left, I noticed Elizabeth slipping out too. Remembering how she'd been staring at Emily all evening, I grew increasingly uneasy, no matter how much I tried to rationalize it. After downing 2 glasses of ice water to sober up, I still followed her out. The women's restroom was quite far, and when I stepped out of the private room, I didn't see Elizabeth, who had left just before me. My head still felt like it might spin, so I quickened my pace toward the restroom. Please don't let that woman catch and bully me again. In a moment of carelessness, I was abruptly pulled into a nearby private room with its door slightly ajar. Steadying myself, I looked closely. It was Elizabeth. Alarm bells rang in my head. She had gone after Emily. She had lured me here. Brother Yixing, why are you looking at me like that? She let down her coiled curls, casually undid 2 buttons of her blouse, and slowly moved closer to me. I pushed her away. What trick are you trying to pull now? I lifted my foot to open the door and leave, but for some reason my limbs felt weak. Even my previously clear consciousness was becoming uncontrollably hazy, and the air I exhaled grew hotter. What did she do to me? Elizabeth slowly approached me, from behind, her hands resting on my shoulders. Do you really like that woman so much? What is so great about her? Is she even half as good as me? I pushed her away, forcefully pinning her against the wall, and sneered, you're not even qualified to compare with her. I've told you before, don't provoke me again. Just as I was about to release my grip and walk away, the door to the private room swung open. The dimly lit private room was suddenly flooded with light, and I squinted uncomfortably. Yet when I saw who had entered, my eyes widened in shock. Holy shit, manager, what are you doing? Several colleagues who were supposed to be in other rooms stood at the doorway, staring at me in astonishment. I froze for a moment, my hand pressed against the wall, forgetting to pull it away. My slightly groggy mind suddenly became clear in that instant. Manager, are you taking advantage of your girlfriend being in the restroom to have a secret affair with someone else here? As more and more people gathered, my heart slowly sank to the bottom. I clearly knew that once a scene had been witnessed firsthand, even if it was a misunderstanding, no amount of my excuses would make any difference. I opened my mouth to say something, but after catching sight of Emily slowly approaching from the back of the crowd, I silently closed it again. The dinner ended abruptly. Did you hear? The manager was actually cheating right under his girlfriend's nose. I heard, and manager Elizabeth cried so bitterly when she got back. She said she had already decided not to pester the manager anymore, but he tried to force himself on her instead. Manager Elizabeth is so pitiful, and that girl is so pitiful too. They both encounter scumbag. Such voices filled every corner of the company, and even the senior employees who had originally supported me began to waver in their convictions. When the wall collapses, the monkeys scatter, yet less than half a day after I returned to my post, another piece of news struck me like a thunderbolt. Company secrets had been leaked. 06, the collaboration with the neighboring city, originally planned to be secured in August, was completely derailed overnight, every last document and proposal stolen clean. The mastermind behind it was Elizabeth. This parachuted manager who had achieved nothing noteworthy here absconded with our entire July's worth of effort and planning. By the time I spent the whole night reviewing surveillance footage to gather evidence against her, she had already fled back to that city. Not only that, but to sway public opinion, she also posted a video on social media. In a video, with tearful eyes, she accused me of deceiving her, emotionally concealing the fact that I had a girlfriend, and even attempting to take advantage of her in the end. Overwhelmed by grief, she had no choice but to return to her hometown. The short video featuring a vulnerable woman infidelity and the scandal of a scumbag poured fuel on the fire for a company already reeling from a major lost partnership and financial losses. Instantly, a flood of voices emerged, some cursing me, others pitying Su Mengting. The stock market crashed, employees resigned en masse, while wreath curses and funeral portraits kept appearing. Our lives were thrown into complete chaos. Elizabeth even chose this moment to send me a message. Did you really think you were charming enough to make me change my mind? You'll never compare to Brother Arthur. I'm telling you, no matter how hard you struggle in that shabby city, you'll never catch up to Brother Arthur. Your woman will leave you too, and you'll always be a loser. The floodgates burst open, releasing 5-year-old memories in all their tattered disgrace. Arthur, the man Elizabeth left me for 5 years ago. As Elizabeth's dream man, he possessed an extraordinarily powerful family background, striking looks, and a refined, gentle demeanor. Elizabeth chose to settle for me, a downward compatibility, because she could never win Arthur's affection. Because of my 60 resemblance to Arthur in looks and similarly quiet temperament. No one knows exactly when they broke up. Elizabeth never stopped pining for him. And now Arthur is giving her the chance to get back together by trading the confidential information from our company's August collaboration. I took off my glasses side and rubbed the bridge of my nose. The upheavals of the past few days have left me utterly exhausted. I truly never expected that a woman who is neither diligent nor particularly bright could cause me so much trouble. Yixing, let us eat first. Emily brought out the dishes and called me over. I responded and immediately showed her Elizabeth's message. A moment later, she looked up and exchanged a knowing smile with me. The luggage was already packed. After this meal, we would leave this city. Elizabeth, after all you've done to ruin me, are you ready for the counterattack? 07, the moon in the sky has changed phases again and again. 2 days after the incident, we drove to this city, a place that holds countless memories for me. Opening social media, people over there are spreading rumors that I fled to escape guilt. Even my boss keeps messaging me, asking what is going on. I only told them to stay calm. Then, after straightening my attire, I stepped into the banquet hall before me. This was the welcome banquet Arthur had arranged. Elizabeth thought this was her Prince Charming, welcoming her back into his life. Not only did she dress up elaborately for the occasion, but she also specifically sent me messages to taunt me. Benjamin, your pathetic little company seems to be hanging by a thread, doesn't it? See this place? It's the most luxurious banquet hall in the entire city. You might never get to see such splendor in your entire lifetime. I'd love to know what expression you'd make if you saw this. I smiled. I too was curious about what expression Elizabeth would have when she saw me here. Would it be like this, staring at me with shock and disbelief? I had just entered the banquet hall when Elizabeth, surrounded by a group of young women and girls, noticed me. Her expression flickered through a myriad of emotions before settling into a look of haughty disdain as she walked toward me. Benjamin, what are you doing here? Instead of staying home with your little girlfriend, you dressed up so formally. Did you rush here just to see me? When the girls beside her asked who I was, she glanced at me sideways and said him just an ex-boyfriend who couldn't take a hint. The girl beside me immediately shot me a disdainful look. I chuckled, lightly Miss Elizabeth, who's pestering whom, don't try to turn the tables. Could it possibly be maintaining pestering you stop, daydreaming you wild duck? The group of girls burst into mocking laughter. I watched them expressionlessly waiting until they finally stopped before speaking slowly. Are you done laughing, ladies? May I pass now? Elizabeth sneered, you what place could there possibly be for you? In the VIP section on the floor. You worry too much, Miss Elizabeth, there's south, no place for you there either. You sisters blocking my welcome banquet is no place for stray dogs to wander in. I quietly watched the few girls blocking my way, discreetly glancing at a nearby waiter a couple of times. The next second, two of the girls were hauled up by the approaching waitstaff. What are you doing? Let me go. We're the heiresses of the X family. Take your filthy hands off us. I walked through the path, cleared by the waiter glancing back at Elizabeth, who stood frozen in shock. By the way, Miss Elizabeth, how can you be so sure this welcome banquet was arranged by Mr. Arthur for you? Having satisfied myself with Elizabeth's incredulous expression, I ignored them and headed toward the VIP seats. Arthur had already taken the stage microphone in hand, ready to deliver his speech. He truly lives up to his reputation as the famously refined young master of their circle, with every gesture exuding the etiquette cultivated since childhood. Despite his youth, he has already ascended to the helm of the Atom Group through his exceptional talent. Unlike me, having clawed my way up from the bottom and witnessed too much of humanity's erosion, I only want a home where I can shelter myself and the two women in my family. Tonight's banquet is a welcome home celebration for our young Master Benjamin. I stood below the stage, locking eyes with Arthur on the platform, and flashed him a teasing smile. This is my younger brother Benjamin. 08 Amid thunderous applause, I ascended the steps one by one. When both feet were firmly planted on the stage, my gaze swept across the familiar faces in the audience below. After more than 20 years, for the first time, I stood before the world openly and honorably as the second young master. I didn't tease Miss Elizabeth's shocked, pale expression in the audience, and even flashed her a deliberate smile. She was so startled, she took 2 steps back. Now she knows exactly who the guest of honor at this welcoming banquet is, doesn't she? I remained silent, listening as my brother Arthur continued speaking beside me. I must express gratitude to one person for my younger brother's willingness to return home. That person is Miss Elizabeth of the Ford Group. Some faces in the audience lit up with surprise and delight, likely Elizabeth's parents, who probably assumed she had helped the Atom family and were already entertaining thoughts of social climbing. After all, if the nobility of the city were to be ranked, the Atom family would undoubtedly take second place, with no other family daring to claim it first. But in the next second, their expressions changed. Thanks to Miss Elizabeth, my brother's life has been turned upside down, which is why he decided to come home. The guests below the stage had already begun whispering among themselves. I wanted to say something fell off earlier, didn't he? Elizabeth claimed tonight was her welcome banquet. And from what Master Arthur said, it seems she has done something quite terrible too. Just as Elizabeth was trying to sneak away, I called out to her, Miss Elizabeth, the banquet isn't over yet. Are you leaving so soon? All eyes in the room instantly focused on her, making her feel like needles were pricking her back. Miss Elizabeth stole company secrets, ruined my reputation, and trampled on the dignity of both me and my girlfriend. Leaving this early would be rather disrespectful. I slowly stepped down from the stage. The crowd fell silent, even wordlessly parting a path before me. Elizabeth slowly turned around, her face as pale as paper. What's the matter, cat? Got your tongue? My esteemed Miss Elizabeth. A couple suddenly rushed out of the crowd and knelt before me. Second young master, our daughter is ignorant. We'll discipline her properly. Please calm your anger. We beg you to spare her. I lowered my gaze and glanced at them coldly. Which is more important to you, your daughter or the family business? They immediately fell silent. Elizabeth, who had just begun to relax and smile upon seeing her parents come to plead for her, suddenly noticed their abrupt silence and growing panic. Dad, Mom, what do you mean by this? I kicked her father hard, and he shoved my leg away. If you can't bear to part with your daughter, then prepare for bad news tomorrow. The couple exchanged glances, struggled for a moment, then silently stepped back with resentment in their eyes. Seeing her parents relent, Elizabeth finally panicked, pressed down by the 2 waiters beside her. She was forced to her knees, her once elegant appearance now disheveled. I walked up to her, and before I could even speak, she began apologizing frantically. Master Benjamin, I was wrong. Please spare me. I beg you, spare me. So she knows how to beg, after all. But now that things have escalated to this point, is an apology even useful anymore? If apologies worked, what would we need the police for? I pinched her chin, forcing her to look up at me. What are you afraid of, Warranty? You clinging to me, earlier begging to be together. Even going so far as to slander my girlfriend as the other woman. But if you knew she was the only daughter of the Nick family, I wonder if you'd regret everything you've done to her. She followed my gaze in alarm, where stood a woman dressed elegantly, without ostentation, her demeanor as gentle and refined as jade. She stood there, and everyone else faded into the background. Emily, the only daughter of the Nick family, second only to the Adams in power and influence. 09 Elizabeth seemed to suddenly remember the existence of Nick's family, recalling her past actions. Her arrogance completely vanished as she began screaming in terror. No, this isn't true. This can't be true. She abruptly turned around, broke free from the waiter's grasp, threw herself at my feet, and clung to my leg while begging Benjamin, "Please don't leave me. I know I was wrong. I'll change. I promise I'll change." Raving hysterically and making a scene, she was eventually escorted out by the security guards. Let us not spoil the fun for everyone. The banquet continues. I smiled at the surrounding guests in thanks, then took Emily's hand as she approached and led her back to the main seat. The Ford couple might have wanted to step out to accompany their daughter, but I firmly ordered them to stay in the banquet hall and invited them to sit beside me. "Don't be nervous, elders. I just want to have a chat with you." I found it amusing to see their trembling legs. They desperately tried to suppress the shaking in their legs and cautiously asked, "What does the second young master mean by this?" I took a sip of the drink on the table. Ugh, it tasted awful. What terrible taste Arthur has. I just remember that the Ford family's main business seems to be concentrated in City S. That must be why they could directly parachute an Elizabeth into my life back then. Uncle Ford's legs seemed to tremble. "Even more, young master, are you interested in City S?" I just smiled at him and said nothing more. Emily couldn't stand seeing his legs shaking like a sieve anymore, so she spoke up for me. "It seems Mr. Ford isn't aware that young Master Benjamin's company has been severely damaged by your daughter's meddling. However, judging by your current state, I doubt you two are still capable of holding on to these businesses. Wouldn't you agree?" In the end, I had them escorted out. Emily and I stood by the windowsill watching the few people below retreat in disarray amidst the surrounding jeers. "Where's Mom?" I asked Emily. "She's sleeping at home. Didn't T want to come?" I understood, although Adam, my father, hadn't made much of an appearance tonight, being in a place that had once put her through so much hardship, she truly didn't want to relive painful memories. Arthur and I share the same father, but have different mothers. Over 20 years ago, Adam was drugged at a business dinner by a rival company and ended up having a one-night stand with my mother, who was also caught up in the scheme. Afterward, my mother, barely in her 20s, learned this man already had a family and resolutely walked away from him. My unexpected arrival turned her world upside down, and from then on she lived the life of a single mother. Adam had completely forgotten about violating a woman after sobering up from his drunken state. It wasn't until recent years, when Arthur took over the Adam family's affairs and their rival family collapsed, that this truth buried for over 20 years came to light. As the banquet ended, Emily and I were preparing to go home. Unexpectedly, at the crossroads, a car came speeding toward us. Fortunately, the driver was highly skilled and swerved in time, leaving us unharmed. The bodyguards following behind quickly intercepted the car and dragged Elizabeth out. I walked up to her and kicked her twice. She screamed twice, then clung to my leg again. "Benjamin, please have mercy on me. Let me go. I know my family is finished, but even if I have to serve as your maid, I'm willing." The bodyguard dragged her away, slapped her twice viciously, then forced her to kneel before me. I wiped my hands with a cloth. "Elizabeth, what did Arthur promise you to steal my company's plans and defect to him?" Elizabeth froze. I threw the rag in her face, being together the position of Mrs. Sue, the young mistress of the Sue family. I crouched down and smiled at her. "You still don't realize this was all an act he and I staged together, do you?" Using her idol's identity, he set conditions to lure her into the trap. Given her obsession with Arthur, she would definitely want to prove herself after the breakup in hopes of getting back together. So she followed Arthur's instructions, stole company secrets, and created the illusion of massive losses. After a major reshuffle of company employees, I then acquired all of the Ford family's assets in the name of the Adams family, merging them with the original company to start anew. In her, the beautiful image she had carefully crafted for the outside world ultimately crumbled to pieces when the truth came to light. The video from the banquet had long been uploaded online by the assistant, and those who had previously cursed me and Emily as scumbags and homewreckers now all switched sides. I never expected her to be this kind of person. I actually defended her before I should be damned. Master Benjamin is so handsome and his methods are so ruthless. I love it. Who would be thought someone like her could do such things? It just goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover. Beneath that beautiful exterior lay nothing but a filthy soul. Without the Ford's protection, her attempts at vehicular manslaughter, spreading rumors, and tarnishing mine and Emily's reputations, countless offenses ultimately landed her behind bars where I put her. With old man Nick pulling strings out of fatherly devotion, she'll be enjoying their hospitality for the rest of her days. Arthur's mother finally came to our door and gently persuaded my mother to return home. In the end, one woman still showed understanding for another suffering woman. She might have resented the mistakes Adam made outside, but she couldn't blame an innocent, vulnerable woman for those faults. The resentment in her heart had already faded when she allowed Arthur to bring me back home years ago. In the end, the story concluded with a perfect happy ending. I took my mother back to Adam's place, and we all lived together. Oh, right, and my girlfriend Emily. I should probably call her my wife now. The end. Arthur's side story. I am the son of the Adams family, raised with excellent education since childhood, and the praises people give me are always words like mature, beyond his years, or genius. They say having me is truly a blessing for the Adams family. There's a girl from the Ford family who seems to like me a lot. She's been chasing after me from middle school all the way to university. I don't quite like her. She's too domineering, always bullying other classmates without showing any mercy. Until one day, I saw her with a guy named Benjamin. That guy, I squinted and thought for a moment there was something indescribably off about him. This strange feeling persisted until the school sports day when a friend handed me a photo of us in the same frame. Only then did I finally realize what was wrong. He looked way too much like me. The eyes, nose, even the eyebrows were strikingly similar. When their profiles appeared side by side in a photo, if not for the lifelessness in his eyes, which even held a trace of malice, I might have thought they were the same person. Could he be my father or mother's illegitimate child? To investigate him, I finally accepted Elizabeth's 8-year-long pursuit. Then I immediately took her abroad. Without her influence around Benjamin, my investigation progressed much faster. He turned out to be the product of my father's one-night stand. Amidst the anger as I looked through the records of Benjamin's life, from childhood, an unexpected pang of sympathy rose in my heart. A mother who never remarried for her child's sake, a boy who grew up without a father's love of family, constantly on the run to avoid disrupting another's complete household. In the end, I chose to tell my mother and asked if she wanted to bring them the mother and son back home. After much internal struggle, my mother agreed. However, to my surprise, they refused. He said, "We've managed all these years without a father. My only wish now is to give my mother a stable home. Big families always come with too much drama, and she is too simple-hearted for that. So I appreciate your kindness, but I must decline." So he rejected my olive branch and chose to make his own way. His methods were indeed not bad. He lived a life of ups and downs in another city. Yet the change came with Elizabeth. A year after we got together, I caught her cheating, sleeping with another man. Even though I didn't like her much before, after a year together, I had developed feelings for her. When she cheated on me, I was furious and immediately kicked her out of the house. I never expected that after disappearing for years, she would return to the country and start causing trouble for my younger brother. Feeling deeply guilty after hearing the news, I immediately contacted my brother to ask if he needed my help. This time he agreed. He was even willing to come home with me. I was so happy that I was willing to endure the disgust and approach Elizabeth again, pretending to make promises to set a trap for her. What I said at the welcome banquet was true. I genuinely thanked Elizabeth for her role in making my brother willing to return home. I really like my younger brother. He is very interesting, and after all these years apart, I hope to make up for our father's absence by being there for him. But it seems my brother doesn't really like me that much. He has always been a bit distant toward me. It's alright, we're family after all, and there is plenty of time ahead of us. Benjamin's side story. My name is Benjamin. My mother went off somewhere fooling around and ended up having me. I was born without a father, just my mother raising me all by herself, and it wasn't too easy for her. We were poor, so in elementary school my weekly allowance was only 5 yuan. I usually saved it up, and on Friday evenings when school let out would buy a small portion from that roast duck shop in town. I knew my mom loved it. Maybe because I was usually quiet and had a bad temper, if someone took my things I'd snatch them right back. The older boys liked to pick on me. This time they stole the pocket money I had saved up. I only realized the 5 yuan I had carefully tucked in the inner pocket of my backpack was gone when I reached the roast duck shop. I was so upset that I sat by the roadside and cried. "Mom, one tea get to eat roast duck today. Next time I'll make sure those brats get what is coming to them." A girl sat down beside me, smelling sweetly, and asked in a lovely voice what was wrong. I sobbed that my pocket money was gone. She stayed with me for a long time until sunset, until someone nearby called her home. Then she stuffed 10 yuan into my hand and ran off quickly. I only had time to catch a glimpse of a figure in a white fairy-like puff dress quickly hiding in a car. Later I forgot her face and never asked for her name, but those blooming white flowers have always remained vivid in my memory. I thought I would never see her again. Until college, when I saw a girl in the same puff dress crouching by the roadside, feeding a kitten. I thought it was her Elizabeth. Perhaps it was through the lens of childhood nostalgia that when she asked me to be Arthur's substitute and become her boyfriend, I actually agreed. But later I was deeply disappointed. She enjoyed ordering me around, took pleasure in being entangled with others while we were together, and bullied all classmates from less affluent families regardless of gender. The shadow of her childhood that I had imposed upon her finally faded away. Later, she finally got her wish to be with Arthur and broke up with me. I agreed without hesitation. Life after the breakup became much easier. Just like when I was a child, I continued my routine of buying food every Friday to bring back to my mom. But she had already broken up with me 5 years ago. 5 years ago, she left me and went abroad with someone else, cutting off all contact with me. I had just bought one when I received a call from my friend. Our joint project to expand outward had failed once again. Feeling somewhat dejected, I sat back down by the roadside to contemplate life. Same time, same place as before. This time I heard a voice I hadn't heard in a full decade. "What is wrong with you?" I turned around in astonishment to see a face both unfamiliar and familiar smiling at me. Never did I imagine that after 10 years, I'd see that flower hidden deep in my heart finally bloom before my very eyes. I smiled too. "Long time no see, Emily." The end.